Hello and welcome to this exam tutorial. It's looking at paper 1 question 3, the 4-mark question, the first question on the medicine section. So let's begin. And here I've come up with an example question. Explain one way in which the methods of prevention against disease was similar between the 17th and the 19th centuries. Now if you notice it's worth 4 marks, that means you should be spending approximately 6 minutes on this. And please note that we've got 2 marks for knowledge and understanding and 2 marks for your explanation, because we are looking at second order concepts, similarity. There could be a question on differences. It doesn't matter if that's the case, you just identify the difference between the 2 time periods. But please keep in mind the focus of the question. In this case, it's the prevention against disease. So, taking this further, what does the mark scheme want? Well, level 1, we notice simple or generalized comment about similarity. So you're saying, well, they're very, very similar, or possibly even they're different, depending upon the nature of the question. And again, generalized information, non-specific, is included about the topics. If you're doing that, you're going to be in this ballpark. Now, you need specific information to be able to get into level 2, and that is then helped to explain the similarity. So really, that information leads you to make that kind of focus. So the writing frame we could use would be to introduce how they are similar. That therefore would allow us then to apply an example from the first time period and try to be specific in the detail. So it might stretch to 2 sentences, but no more than that. Once that's done, apply a similarity by giving an example of how the focus of the question was applied in that second time period. Now, one thing I would say is this: remember centuries. Anything in the 1600s is the 17th century. Anything in the 1800s is the 19th century. So we are in the year 2019, so it's the 21st century. So here we have an example answer. One way in which methods of prevention against disease were similar between the 17th and the 19th centuries was the focus on using strong smells to ward off miasma. Could have said disease. This can be seen in the 17th centuries when people would hold and wear strong smelling herbs to prevent the plague in 1665. This method of prevention was still being used in the 1840s when barrels of tar were burnt in the streets to prevent cholera. Now we're going to break this down, and we can see here that our focus is on the use of strong smells to ward off disease / miasma, and that's my similarity, that's my identification there. I've turned my question into my answer to make my introduction. I've then, in purple, applied knowledge, and I've been specific. I'm not just saying, oh, they had strong smelling herbs. I've given an example of when it was done during the plague of 1665. And again, in green, I've talked about how that was used again in the 1840s with barrels of tar, and I've applied a specific example of when that was done. So this would get 4 out of 4. What I'd like to do is you could practice doing this with a further similarity question. It could be about approaches to public health between the Middle Ages and the 17th century. You could focus on differences and look at differences in public health between 17th century and 20th century, or 19th century and 20th century. The same focus would be needed. Identify difference, apply knowledge for the first time period to say what the first one was, and then show the difference by applying knowledge in the second. Hope this has been useful. Obviously, it's quite a short podcast. Any problems, send me a comment and I'll be happy to respond. Thanks for listening and goodbye.